Hey guys! Welcome to Turkish series stars. Before we dive in, a quick note: the following is a dramatized, fictional narrative crafted for entertainment, inspired by public personas. All the details are in our video. Don't forget to subscribe to Turkish series stars and share before continuing. Thank you so much. The conversation across fandoms hit a high note when Alp Navras shook the timeline with a candid social media post that nobody saw coming. His private life with Alina has long been the lightning rod for whispers and late-night debates, and now he chose to speak in his own words, not through publicists or rumor mills. In the post, Alp admitted that what many took for a fairy tale chapter had, in fact, been a union he described as official on paper, but lacking the emotional pulse that sustains love behind closed doors. He didn't write it as a sensational confession. He wrote it as if he were talking to a friend. My partnership existed in documents and expectations. Feelings get misread when too many eyes are watching. Only we knew what it really felt like. Those lines landed with a hush, the kind that follows a truth finally spoken out loud. He went on to explain that the early days were bright and hopeful, full of mutual respect and genuine care, but over time the life they built drifted into formality, like a script they kept reciting even after the meaning faded. We were official, he wrote, but our paths kept branching in different directions. The comment section filled with messages the way rain fills a street. Fans, many of them young people who've grown up watching both stars rise, sent notes of solidarity. You didn't owe us this, but thank you for trusting us, wrote one follower. Industry figures chimed in carefully, hinting that this side of fame, its arrangements, its compromises, rarely matches the daydreams audiences hold dear. Some insiders claimed this announcement would only make Alp more protective of his personal world going forward, and that the circle around him was already drawing tighter. Alina, for her part, stayed silent. That silence sparked competing interpretations. Was she quietly agreeing? Was she waiting to speak? Or was she choosing to let one statement stand alone? None of the answers were clear, and maybe clarity wasn't the point. What mattered was the tone of Alp's words, steady, reflective, almost tender toward what once was. He framed respect and understanding as the foundation that helped them through the beautiful beginning but couldn't keep them from acknowledging when the heart stops answering the door. He ended that first post with a line that reads like a turning of a page. Life doesn't always unfold the way we write it. I'm choosing the path that feels honest. And with that, the speculation swelled. Media accounts quoted fragments, fan accounts made timelines, commentators parsed every punctuation mark. Yet through all the noise, the core remained. A man owning the shape of something intimate, not to scandalize, but to clarify. Not long after, the story rolled on, this time with a more thoughtful rephrasing from Alp. He didn't add fuel, he offered context. People judge from the outside, he wrote, but the view from inside is different. We had kindness and care, but the emotional thread between us wore thin. We tried to mend it with patience and respect, and for a while it seemed to hold. But a relationship should be more than habit or headlines. Those words sketched a portrait of two people who did not fail each other so much as they refused to pretend. The early days, he emphasized, had genuine joy. The dinners that turned into long walks, the laughter that echoed after the cameras cut, the sudden quiet that felt like a refuge rather than a pressure. But as months peeled away, practical ties outlasted emotional ones. That was the shape of their togetherness, legally defined, publicly perceived, privately shifting. It was an admission without accusation, a confession without bitterness. He protected Alina with the way he wrote. No blame. No scorekeeping. Just the truth as he understood it. Online, reactions turned from shock to empathy. You took the brave route, another fan wrote. I learned from this that love is also about honesty. Bloggers began to frame the moment as a teaching point in celebrity culture, how the machinery of fame can nudge two people into continuing a story that doesn't belong to them anymore. A few sources close to the scene are convinced we'll see Alp stepping back, skipping the after-parties, limiting the glossy reveals. privacy as a deliberate lifestyle, not a retreat. Still, Alina's quiet became its own narrative. People reread old interviews, old video clips, searching for subtext that might explain the present. But if there was a secret to uncover, it remained with them, as it always had. The strength of Alp's message lay in the idea that respect can remain even when romance cannot. That two people can acknowledge a beautiful illusion without tearing each other apart. Then came the third ripple, a deeper dive into the why, shared by Alp not as a second statement but as a continuation of the first. My life kept changing in public, he wrote. I felt like I was trying to protect something fragile from the glare, and in that effort, the two of us stopped meeting in the middle. We were so careful not to break under pressure that we stopped reaching for what made us begin. He didn't deny the love that once was, he marked its passing. He described how routine can become a quiet wall, how politeness can become a kind of distance, and how a bond can be tended with every good intention and still lose its spark. This time, social feeds filled with longer notes, confessions of their own from followers who saw their past or present reflected in his words. You put into language the thing I couldn't name, one commenter said. Another added, it's not about heroes or villains. It's about timing and truth. Press circles debated whether this was a chapter-closing act or the beginning of a new understanding between two public figures who value grace under scrutiny. Alp did not erase the sweetness of beginnings. He wrote about tiny, luminous moments, the first night that felt like daybreak, the way a shared joke stitched comfort between scenes, how showing up at the right time can feel like poetry. He honored that. He also honored the pivot, when a couple starts walking beside each other, but not toward the same place. Official, yes. Sustainable, no. That was the center of it. In the midst of all this, Alina maintained her measured reserve. Close observers pointed out that restraint has long been part of her public approach: finish the project, hold the line, speak when ready. Her team remained unreachable. Her friends kept their distance from the fray. Meanwhile, the conversation around them edged toward maturity. Sometimes the bravest move is to acknowledge what a relationship has become without unmaking the goodness it carried. By the fourth wave of coverage, the narrative had moved from shock to acceptance. Alp's words had stopped being headline bait and started to settle into people's understanding of him. He echoed his core thought once more, pared down to its simplest shape. We were good to each other, he wrote. We tried to be better for each other. But love needs more than civility. It needs presence, and ours faded. The message wasn't a goodbye drenched in drama, it was a boundary drawn with care. He suggested he'd guard his private life more carefully now, not to punish curiosity, but to protect peace. Support continued to pour in. Younger fans, especially, lifted him as an example of what it means to own your story before someone else writes it for you. Industry veterans called it a sign of maturity, the refusal to cultivate a false image just because it takes better pictures. And while some corners of the internet hunger for villains, this moment denied them that spectacle. No exposed secrets, no pointed allegations, just two people who had the courage to reframe what their bond had become. Through it all, Alina's silence remained dignified. It wasn't absence, it was poise. People admired that choice. Sometimes saying nothing is the strongest statement, a commentator wrote, praising how both sides handled the weight of public inquiry. There were rumors about upcoming projects, about how the shift in their personal world might reshape their professional choices, but speculation was all it was, speculation. As the media cycle churned, one line from Alp's earliest post took on the feel of a refrain. Life takes turns you never planned for, he had written. I'm choosing mine. It was less a mic drop than a compass point. It hinted at a future not defined by retreat, but by intention. A future where the love they once shared doesn't need to be rewritten as a mistake to justify its ending. If there was a lesson to extract, it was this: public love stories shine bright, but that brightness can obscure the quieter truths inside them. Respect can coexist with goodbye. A bond can remain meaningful even if it cannot remain the same. What Alp shared felt risky because it was humane, and what Alina held back felt powerful because it was measured. Together, they drew the outline of a conclusion that didn't demolish the beginning that made people believe in them in the first place. And so the conversation moves forward, calmer now. The echoes of their names still ripple through trending lists and pop culture debates, but the tone has shifted. Not scandal, not a feeding frenzy, something closer to understanding. For a moment, the audience remembered that beyond the photos and premieres and breathless captions, there are real people choosing their way through complicated seasons. We've reached the end of our dramatized retelling. If you enjoyed our video, please subscribe to Turkish Series Stars and share it. Goodbye.